Hola, mi amigos. I am back once again with some comic reviews for this week. I actually picked them up yesterday, had a lot of free time on my hands after picking them up and going into work, and I read them, and now I'm here to review them. Since I'm going to be busy some of this weekend, so I figured I'd go ahead and put these out real quick. Without wasting time, let's go ahead and get down into the books. Start things off with my DC, Batman Beyond Unlimited number 5. This is one that I have not reviewed that much. I've been reading, but I've kind of reached a realization with this issue, and I'm going to drop it regretfully, but I'll make sense as to why. Chris might question my sanity on it a little bit, but this is my reasoning for it. Let's touch upon the stories first. The Batman Beyond part. I'll give Beecham credit. This is the first time that he's written a halfway decent story, but it fell apart really quick with the unnecessary tease as to the said individual who were introduced into this. Terry is not actually present in this story except for in flashbacks. We're introduced to a soldier who actually used to work for Mr. Fix, the man who actually murdered Warren McGinnis, who is Terry's father. And we actually learn a very interesting twist with this man's presence along with Fix the night that Warren McGinnis died. Interesting. I will say I didn't see that coming. What I did see coming, however, is the twist about who this individual is. I'm not going to spoil it, but he has a connection to someone heavily from Bruce Wayne's past. And if you're a Batman fan, obviously this is offhand knowledge that you should know, and it's going to be predictable very quick. This would have been an interesting insight had they not had Beecham not unnecessarily teased with that mystery, and this really led for that story to be actually more of a massive disappointment than it should have been with a pleasant read. The middle story with the Justice League Beyond was the second part of the Warhawk origin. I didn't really care for that. And, you know, I actually hate to say it, but I enjoyed the Superman Beyond story more than I did the Batman Beyond. It was actually pretty good. The story with, you know, Kal-El being in the future and questioning, you know, once again, do I really belong, since Metropolis Police Department actually has their officers wearing some armor which actually is equipped with Superman-like powers. That's pretty well done, and the aspect of him continuing to investigate the connection in between this young woman who is plaguing him and the possibility that she might be Lex Luthor's daughter is pretty good, and, you know, trying to find out what she's up to. Here's the thing about Batman Beyond that I realized when I read it. Now, you're doing good getting 3 stories in here for $4. It's not bad. But this is also kind of a double-edged sword, with the fact that the storytelling quality suffers a little bit because we're trying to condense these 3 stories to make in a few pages to all add up to this issue. And price-wise, this is good, but the quality just suffers to me, and, you know, I'm going to give the next issue a chance, but, you know, if it kind of feels like this one, I'm just going to consider dropping the series, because I don't know, this is a good idea, but it kind of backfires a little bit because I don't feel that I get as much from each individual story as I should, because it's so condensed, and it really makes it suffer in my eyes. So, you know, I'm going to hold out and wait and see, but, you know, the Superman was the best part in this, but the other 2 just really disappointed me. Let's move on to something that did surprise me. Actually made my pick of the week. It had some stiff competition with Venom and Daredevil, I'll tell you that, but I'm picking this as the pick of the week solely just on how improved that this issue is. Avengers vs. X-Men number 6. And wow, was this good. You know, Fraction left a big what the fuck moment at the end of the last issue, but instead of picking up from where that left off, we actually pick up the timeline of the story a week after the reveal from last issue. Cyclops and the Phoenix Corps, as they're calling themselves now, have issued an ultimatum to the world. You know, we'll take care of you, we'll give you unlimited energy supply, give you plenty of food so you don't starve, and give you plenty of water so you don't go thirsty. But no more wars, no more bickering with each other, and more importantly, do not fuck with mutants, or else you'll suffer our consequences. This issue has some very, very good character insight. Before I continue on with that, let me say how much of a welcome and refreshing sight that Oliver Coipel's artwork is to this series. The tone seems to have shifted drastically once Romita departed from it, and you know, while you might complain about the Nightwing ripoff with Cyclops' costume now that he's heading the Phoenix Corps, it's very, very good to look at with Coipel's artwork. Cyclops is given the most screen time in here. Emma Frost is actually fleshed to the background for the most part. But, you know, man, was there some really good character insight in here. The main ones that we focus on: Charles Xavier comes to visit Utopia after Psyche's ultimatum to the world, and there's a very disheartening visit because you feel bad for Xavier seeing his student advance to this point that, you know, he did have vision that, you know, the world would be better if, you know, he strived for it hard enough, but Cyclops' methods are not welcome, and this issue also proves just how much of a dick that Scott has been built up to be. That example is really shown when he talks with Hope. He says you're free to leave at any time, but he kind of doubles back on that once the Avengers show up for a little visit. And, you know, just teasing her, just rubbing her face in it about how she could have had this power. And, you know, Numero, Bastard of the Year from Marvel's got to go to this guy for that. And, you know, Hickman just does a really good job of fleshing out these characters, which is something that I've looked forward to so much in this event. You know, with the opportunity that was presented by going from a 6 or 7 issue event to a 12-issue event, you know, now you're having time to stop and flesh out your characters better, and this is a textbook example of Marvel when they say, hey, you don't need to read the tie-in issues to understand what's going on in the main book. Sometimes you do need to read those to get into the characters' heads and why they're doing shit. You actually can read this and get into Cyclops' head and a couple other people's heads as well and see what's going on with this. The Avengers show up in here, and, you know, they're still worried about the possibility that what could happen if Hope got a hold of this. And we also are reintroduced to the Scarlet Witch, who we haven't seen since that 0 issue. And the visit does not go well. Let's just say that this issue ends with Cyclops uttering 3 words that ring ironically troublesome for the Avengers at the end of this issue, and it's, if you're looking for moments to hang on to pick up another issue, you know, Kamakuno talked about this, and she's very right about this. This is how you do a fucking story in comic books. You know, Venom and Daredevil have good cliffhangers, which I'll get to, but, you know, awesome job on this, Hickman. I'm going to continue airing with a bit of caution as I pick up the other issues following this, because I don't want to be lulled into an area of getting my hopes up and then being smashed once somebody like Bendis or Fraction takes over this. But, you know, regardless of whichever way this event goes, now that we're moving beyond this halfway point, I would at least like Hickman to write a good concluding issue to this, since he did issue 6 so well. And that's all I have to say about that. Invincible Iron Man number 513. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The only reason that I'm sticking with this is because I like the Mandarin and I want to see what's going to happen with the confrontation in between Stark and him, which we're supposed to get next issue. This issue is slower than a snail moving across the room right now. We've slowed down way too much. I understand this is an issue where we need to breathe after the events with Spy Master were played out from last issue, but this fell flat. The only interesting thing that takes place in here is Detroit Steel and what happens with Justine Hammer trying to save her daughter from this maniac after he kidnapped Sasha. That's really the only interesting thing here. The Tony's continued downward spiral is a yawner at this point. I kind of enjoyed the other issues to an extent, but come on, man, this is just boring. Even when Bethany Cabe explodes on Tony and just gives him a major ass chewing about what an idiot he is, it wasn't interesting. And the build-up from that last cliffhanger at the end of the last issue, in between Ezekiel Stane and the Mandarin, over with like that in the first 2 or 3 pages. I mean, yeah, we establish how much of a badass the Mandarin is and how much of a bitch that he is, or that Ezekiel Stane is to Mandarin, but, I would have at least expected something a little bit better. I'm still nursing the theory that they're going to drag this out as long as possible. I like the Mandarin, but we're still dragging this out as long as possible so it can coincide when Iron Man 3 comes out next year and we can just, have a story to go along with the movie. Which was fine because this comic did a good job with that in the beginning, but this is taking way too long in my opinion. And, this issue did not help things. So, hopefully we can improve. I know this is failure fraction on here, but come on, just do something good with the Mandarin is all I beg you. Issue 238 of X Factor. I'm not going to give too much of this away like I did with the last one. It didn't blow me away like that last issue, but Peter David is no slouch. He brings 110% to each issue that he writes. And I'm not going to spoil too much of this because it sets up an interesting premise. And it just, it's good. And you just got to read this because it doesn't help with me explaining it. Just pick it up. I should say the same thing about Rick Remender on Venom number 19. I keep saying the same thing about this and Uncanny X-Force, with a few exceptions that the flaws that have from the Other World story. But he's continuing to do good with this when he's not being pulled into other events. He's fleshing out Flash's troubles left and right, and now we're focusing mostly on the Jack-o'-lantern from the Savage Six. Flash has got Betty in his arms. She just found out that he's Venom, and she's pissed about him being so duplicitous with her. But no time. We flesh out. You lied to me, and I can't stand you. I hate you. We're getting that out real quick as the fight is progressing, and it's bad. Flash has got to protect Betty, but the Savage Six is also going after his mother, going after his sister. He suffers a loss in this issue thanks to the Jack-o'-lantern. I'm not going to spoil who it was, but, it's kind of a bad scenario, and it's getting worse as it's going along. It's, it's fun watching somebody's life spiral down. I mean, Daredevil, which is great, before Shadowland and all that, but, this is good. Remender is really progressive when it comes to somebody's life and their shit just hitting the fan. He's doing really good with this. I think this is going to be a bang that the series is going out with, or at least for him stepping off and letting Cullen Bunn take over. He's doing good. And in your face, Marvel. Because what's funny is I sidetrack myself sometimes, but I have to mention too. I read the editor's notes at the end of this in the letter column, and they basically say, when we put this series out, nobody expected it to do this good, but bam, Remender does solid, and you will not be disappointed with it. That's all I got to say about it. It's just terrific. Finally, let's close this out with something that is also very good and was competing with Venom to be the pick of the week along with Avengers vs. X-Men. Ooh. Chris, I don't know if your buddy Goblin, I know that he doesn't read this, but, you need to try and goad him a little bit into reading it because this man is missing out with a series. Daredevil number 14, best issue of the series by far. The good times, Matt was in danger in the past issues, but everything seemed to be staying on the sunny side of life. But, now the cracks are starting to show in Matt having a handle on things. This is the second part of Mega Crime and Punishment. We journey now to Latveria, where last issue Matt was actually kidnapped and taken to. Despite the cover and how cool it looks, Dr. Doom himself is not present in this issue. Instead, we're dealing with a particular lieutenant who works for Victor Von Doom, and Matt actually finds himself waking up in a plastic container. And in the interrogation, this man exposes Matt to a particular type of gas. We panic for a little bit, wondering what's going to happen, but I'm going to go ahead and spoil a little bit of this too without giving too much away. I will say that the gas that Matt is exposed to is a gas which is slowly starting to shut down his other senses. This lieutenant is aware that Daredevil is blind, and he's taking away his other senses since he can't get the location of the disc to which all the knowledge of the 5 crime cartels which is contained on. And, Matt's just in a lot of trouble right now. He's trying to hurry up and get the fuck out of Latveria. And, soldiers are just pursuing him right and left. His smell is starting to shut down. His hearing is going. His sense of touch, which is really, no pun intended, touched upon in this issue, is going. And it's that sense of touch which dooms Matt at the end of this issue. And I'm going to say, I laughed. I mean, this issue, while it didn't make pick of the week, it had me on the edge of my seat. My guts twisting, actually, which is something that this series has not managed to do to me, but has. I'm going to say this. The reader will know that Matt is not out of danger based upon the cliffhanger, but the fact is that Matt thinking that he's left Matt thinking that he made it out of the danger, but he's not, is, ooh. For once, I can speculate where a series will go after that, but, for once I'm really stumped because I can't predict what's going to happen to this character with the next issue until it comes out after the circumstance that he's left with. And meanwhile, there's a very bad secret that Foggy uncovers in this issue. This is damn good right now. Seriously, one of the best books that Marvel is producing, aside from Venom, and, Mark Waid is just really hammering this out. It's good. Good. It'll twist your guts with suspense about what's going to happen next, and it's just fabulous. I'm rambling on about it, but, bottom line is this is a good issue. And that does it for my stack this week. I hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, I will catch you guys, so have a good one.